Welcome to the 49th episode in the martial poetry series. This time we're going over a drunken boxing movement called spitting wine. The movement is like this. So it looks like a ridiculous movement. I mean, all of drunken boxing looks ridiculous, really. But the key concepts taught in spitting wine is fundamental throughout all of drunken boxing. So first I'll start with the more obvious things, and then I'll get into the more in-depth things as we progress through the video. So spitting wine, the idea of spitting wine, and the concept of it within drunken boxing. So if we take this into application, I can literally spit in this application, as actually one of its applications is to spit on them. Or if you have a full stomach, vomit on them. They probably won't want to fight you after that. But, you know, it's kind of taking that gross factor. So if we take the poetry literally, the idea is that I'm taking their force, they're going to punch at me, and I direct it downwards and away, more towards the lower area here. Now, if you take it the way that I was taught, is like you direct it downwards towards your gut, and then use that as a way to vomit at them. I prefer not to use that one because I don't like vomiting, but if you want to, and I mean, it will probably end the fight. They probably won't want to fight you anymore. But the idea is that you direct it downwards and you lock out their limb so that when they punch, they get this kind of lock on them, or this pressure coming upwards. And as you lock up their arm, right, you sink your center of gravity underneath them, and then you push upwards with your stomach, with your hips, as if you're digging them up with a shovel. And that will uproot them. Because once you get them to lock here, there's a straight line for which you can shoot force upwards. And because of the drawing action, right, it's not just them punching here, but their punch is being pulled further than they intend to go. So this will make their body overcommit. You're forcing them to overcommit, and they'll be in an unbalanced state, which is why this works very well. When you get to pull off, you pull them off their balance, and you step underneath their center of gravity, and you lock them up, and then you stand up, and it causes them to lift like this. I'll show you in the application so it's a little bit more clear in the applications video to follow, but that's the general idea. And while they're up in the air, you can hit them wherever you like, while they're not in full control of their bodies. Or you can blast their arms so it actually breaks. You could do that too. And if you don't vomit at them, you should also spit at them or headbutt them, like that. So those are the classical applications. Now, getting more in depth, the idea of spitting the wine and what it is for drunken boxing as a whole. So Fujin means floating jin, or floating power, floating energy. So it's the idea that you uproot something. So in Taijiquan we talk a lot about uprooting the opponent so they become very light and easy to throw around. So it's the idea here as well. So in previous episodes of the martial poetry series, I talked about the concept of making the opponent drunk, and that is how you uproot them, right? So watch the previous episodes if you want more elaboration on that. I won't go over it too much here, but just enough to talk about the concept and what we're talking about here. Because this idea of Fujin is that idea of making them drunk. It's the uprooting them. It's making them unable to fight you with 100% of their ability. So once you get to Fujin, or float them, right, you can start to square up and start to attack. No matter what style like you practice, you can attack in whatever way you see fit. But it's the idea that you uproot them first, and then you attack them. Because if they're stumbling for their balance, or they're being thrown through the air, they aren't able to fight you with 100% of their ability, right? So if I square up with you here, right now I have all my options available to me, right? I can punch with both hands, I can kick with both feet, I can square up and wrestle, I can start doing china and locks and such. I have my options available to me. But if my opponent were to, as I punch, get to me here, or they're on this side of my arm, and they like do an arm bar or so, right? So now this arm is controlled, so I don't have full use of this arm. My options are already limited. As well as they could step behind my leg to start tripping me. Now I will have balance here, which will make this unable to go up and kick. And since I'm unbalanced, most of my weight will be on this leg, so I won't be able to kick with that leg either. And because they're over there, it's going to be harder to punch them as they're turning me this way. So you can see the more that you start to maneuver around your opponent and affect their balance, the less they're able to attack you with their arsenal or whatever kit they have of martial arts training. So when you get to the idea of fujin, it's just keep them constantly in a state of stumbling and falling all over themselves, and then you can hit them as they're stumbling and falling. And that hitting them will cause them to stumble and fall, of which then you can use it as a trip and then start to hit them. And it becomes a cascading event of just making them stumble, hitting them, making them stumble, hitting them, making them stumble, hitting them. So that's the concept. That's why fujin is so important. You don't want to fight the opponent when they're at their best. You want to fight them when they're at their weakest. That's true martial arts. It's not fair, right? It's not a duel. You'd rather have them stumble and just, eat the ground. So that's the idea behind the fujin. So to review real quick, spitting wine, this type of movement, lock up their arm, fujin, spit or vomit at them, do something, maybe hit them with your head, because that'll, head to the nose hurts a lot, I know from experience. Don't get hit there with the head, because it hurts. So that's the idea. Spitting wine from Drunken Boxing. See you in the next video.